The stockholders' equity section can seem pretty formidable, but you really just have to be organized in your mind about it. There's three basic sections, and the first one is paid in capital. And if you think about what it says, it tells you what it is. This is the paid in capital. This is not earned capital. This is nothing we did through the operations of our company. This is invested capital. It's capital that the investors, the stockholders, have paid into the company in exchange for common stock or preferred stock. So when we break the paid-in capital into two parts, okay, and the first part is going to describe the actual stock, and so it'll go capital stock, and that's going to be your preferred stock would be listed first with all of the detail about it, and then your common stock would be listed second if you have two classes of stock with all the detail about that. So the other part of paid-in capital is going to be additional. It's going to be additional paid-in capital, and that's over and above the par value. So if you think about the journal entry that you do when stock is issued, and say you got cash of, $40,000 when you issued some stock, some of it, not planned ahead here at all, some of that will be attributed to common stock. Okay, so say you get cash of $40,000, and maybe you issued 1,000 shares of, of $10 par common stock. So the amount that would be attributed to common stock would be the 10 times the 1,000, or 10,000, and then the rest, remember our paid-in capital in excess of par value on common stock would be the 30,000. So all our stockholders' equity section is doing is we're going to be listing anything that's attributable to common stock and preferred stock under the capital stock. Anything that's additional paid-in capital over and above the par or stated value is going to be in our additional paid-in capital section for preferred and common stock. So they keep all of that separate. Okay, so you have, so far we've got our paid-in capital we're working on, and we have two parts to that. We've got our capital stock and our additional paid-in capital. And so we would have additional paid-in capital, say, in excess of par on our preferred stock. And maybe if the common stock had stated value, we could go in excess of stated value. In other words, you just tell exactly what's going on for the common. And then, remember from treasury stock, we also have paid-in capital treasury stock. And so that's simply from treasury stock, if there is some, because there's no par or stated value on treasury stock, and it doesn't vote, and it's not an asset from treasury stock. So it does have additional paid-in capital sometimes. Okay, so that, and then you're going to be totaling your capital stock and you're going to be totaling your additional, I got to abbreviate it, paid-in capital, and then you're going to have total of all of your paid-in capital. So that would be the total of your capital stock plus your additional paid-in capital. Okay? Then you also have to add more detail to this. If it's preferred, you have to say it's 8% preferred. That's the amount of the dividend. You have to say that it has $10 par value, if that's what it has. You would have to say it is cumulative or non-cumulative. Remember all these terms from earlier in the chapter. So this will be non-cumulative. We have to say, typically we should say how many shares are authorized, issued, and outstanding, but they won't always give you all of those. Here they just tell you that there are 500 shares issued. So we would assume they're issued and outstanding. So but we'll just leave it at that. The common stock, we would do the same thing. This has no par value, but it has a stated value of so much per share, a $5 stated value. And you would also say there were 4,000 shares issued and 3,900. So 4,000 shares issued. I work much better on Excel. I just don't plan ahead well on this, but you can see it in the notes. I think it looks much better there. And 3,900 shares outstanding. Why are only 39 outstanding? Because we've got some treasury stock involved. And so we issued a bunch of shares and then we bought some back. So that means there's less of our shares that are still outstanding. The ones that held in treasury stock reduce that. Okay, so we get our paid in capital section done. Total paid in capital. Okay, now the second part that would kind of line up with paid in capital. This is all the invested capital. Then we have our earned capital, our retained earnings. And, okay, so we get our retained earnings. And if there's any restrictions on that, we would have, something that said see note regarding any restrictions, if we wanted to. And then, since we have treasury stock, you would have to go total paid in capital to go over here, and retained earnings. So we've got our total of everything so far, and at the very end we report our treasury stock, and that would be on the same line as these guys here. Paid in capital, earned capital, less treasury stock. And the amount in your treasury stock account is deducted at the end. And in this case, and you'd say it's 100 common shares. Okay, and so that's where you get the 4,000 issued, but only 3,900 outstanding. And so that would be a deduction, and then at that point you can do your grand finale of total stockholders' equity. There. So can you imagine if you get this down and can do this, how impressed your boss would be at work? And it's not that bad if you really get the outline of it sort of embedded in your mind somehow. Okay, that's it for stockholders' equity.